Hello everyone, it's Narelle here from the Cricut Explore Maker and More Facebook group, and in today's video I'm going to be assembling this fun little dancing Santa card that I designed in Cricut Design Space. Now I'll be sharing the Design Space file for this card in two sizes, a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch size and a 5 by 7 inch size, and you'll find a link to that file in the Cricut Explore Maker and More Facebook group, and I'll link to that below. This card was inspired by a card by Susan Campfield called a Dancing Gnome card. I'll link to Susan's video in the description below. So thanks Susan for sharing such a wonderful card. Now I'm going to be assembling the small size of this card. The file includes both cut versions and a print then cut version of the Santa. And for the small version, I recommend using the print then cut Santa, as the pieces for that image are quite small. Now you can paper piece them if you wish, but for this size, I found that the print then cut version was much easier to work with. So I have all my pieces here ready to go, and I'll go through and show you what each piece is. So you have your Santa here. Now that comes in 3 pieces. So you have the Santa head and body, then you have, and that one has been print then cut. You have a legs and boots that's also been print then cut. And then you have another set of legs and boots that's just been cut from cardstock, and that's going to be stuck to the back of this one just to give that piece a little bit more strength and make it sort of move a little bit better. Now you have your card base, and then you have 2 rectangles that are going to go on the front. This little rectangle is going to cover that join. Then you'll have these 2 pieces here that's going to go on top of that. The Santa's going to go on top of that, and then you've got a little sentiment here that I've used a pen to write Christmas wishes on, and that's going to go at the bottom. Now if you're going to use the 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch version of the design, you might wish to use a ready-made card base instead of cutting out the card base from the file, and in that case you'd hide that layer in the layers panel in Design Space so that it doesn't cut. You might also want to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and create your own card base. And the way to do that very easily is take your 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and cut that down the middle at 5.5. That will give you 2 cards, and then you would score across at 4 1/4 to get your card fold. Now if you wanted a side fold card, that's how you would do that. If you want a top fold card, you would take your 8.5 by 11 sheet, hold it portrait, and you would cut down at 4 1/4 inches and score at 5.5, and that will then give you 2 top fold cards. Now I'm going to be using a top fold card today. So there's my top fold card piece there. And you'll find that in that file there's also 2 pieces that go inside the card so that you can write your sentiment on there. You can also, if you're using a different coloured cardstock, you might not want to use both of those. You might just want a white piece. So in that case you would just change whichever one of those size pieces you want to white and use that. Now this card here I actually used red cardstock, and in that case I might want to just put a white piece on the inside, but I might want it say this size, so I would just change this or cut this piece out on white, and that would go on the inside there. Then it's entirely up to you as to what colour you're obviously cutting your card base from. Now I'm using the Art Institute Designer Dries Clear adhesive for this card, and this comes in many different sizes. This is a large bottle, and I just take some of this glue and then put it into this small bottle that's got this ultra fine metal tip that makes that much easier for applying the glue into small areas. Now you're also going to be needing some pop dots for this card. So I'm using these American Crafts Sticky Thumb Adhesive Foam Dots, but there are obviously many brands available. You're going to need something that is round, so I wouldn't suggest using a square one or any other shape pop dot. It needs to be round so that the legs can swivel a little bit better. So for this card, you're going to need the smaller size. This is when we're cutting using the 4 1/4 card. So the smaller size here is 1/4 inch, and that's just the right size to fit inside the hole on the legs. The next size up is just a little bit too big, and it doesn't allow the legs to swivel. So for this card, you'll need the small one. If you're cutting the 5 1/2 inch version, the next size up might work, and the size of that one is 5/16 inch. So that's what you're going to need to put this together. So let's start by putting the legs together. So we're just going to take this piece here, and I'm going to stick that onto the cardstock piece behind it. So I'm just going to use my glue to do that. So I'll just make sure that's lined up nicely, and then I can put that one to the side. Now there also is in the Design Space file a solid piece that you can cut out to put behind this piece too if you want this to be a little bit more sturdy. It's not necessary, but if you want a little bit of height, then by all means cut that piece. It's coloured white on the Design Space file, but you can cut that out obviously in whatever colour you want. So I'll just put those two there to the side. So I'm going to take my card base and I'm going to start building this card. So I've got my 2 rectangles here, so they're going to go on the front here like so. So I'm just going to line them up nicely. And then I'm just going to take something to sit on here so this doesn't move. So now that piece won't move, and I can go and put some glue on the back of this. Now you can use glue or you could use a tape runner on this, either works. So I'm just going to be using glue today. So I'll just pop that there, make sure that it's straight and even, and then I can remove that and then go ahead and put the next piece down, knowing that it's going to be lined up. Okay, now this piece here is going to go across the middle. Like that, and that covers the join. So next we've got this piece here. So I'm just going to be putting that on here. Now I'm going to move that up so that it's further to the top, so that it gives me room down the bottom for my sentiment. So I'll just move that up a little bit more. And it doesn't matter if it overlaps down the bottom there, that's fine. Okay, so I've got that one, and now I've got this piece here. Now, but this piece, you can cut this out on whatever colour you want that you think that Santa is going to show up well on. And I've just used an off-white piece here, but I'm going to emboss this just to give this a little bit more texture. So to emboss this, I need my embossing machine. I need an embossing folder, and I'm using an old embossing folder from Cuttlebug called Christmas Ornaments. And then I need my plates for the mat. So I'm going to pop my piece inside the embossing folder, pop that in there, place my plate over the top, and then just put that through the machine. Okay. So there's my embossed piece now. So you can see it's got the raised bits there and the pieces that have been pushed in. And that just gives a little bit more dimension on the card. So now that I've got that one there, I can go ahead and I can glue this one down. I'll put that in the middle of the red piece. Just smooth that one down. Now, because it's not an even surface or a level surface now, you probably just need just to give that a little bit more work to get that to stick. So we're going to take Santa, and he's sized so that basically the pom-pom on the top of his hat just sits at the top of that lighter piece. And then the legs are going to go underneath that. So the legs pretty much sit against the bottom of that piece that's now embossed. So we just sit him there like that. And then when you put Santa's body on, you're going to sit it so that it's just the top of or the very bottom of those red pieces of the legs that are going to show. So something like that. You can go up a little bit higher, but if you line the bottom of this piece up with that square line there, or that straight line there, that is pretty much exactly right. So I'll take this piece, make sure that it's kind of center, and then I'm going to take my little foam dot, and I'm going to just put that foam dot so that it sits at the top of this cutout circle. So I'll pop that in there like that. So you're not sticking it to the legs, but just in that hole. So then when the card's ready, those legs are going to swivel like that. So we've got that there. So then what we need to do is put pop dots on the back of this piece. So when you're putting them on here, make sure you're not putting them anywhere that will interfere with the swinging of those legs. So just stay clear of the center piece here. So what we'll do is, and I can use big ones and any medium-sized ones I need here. So I'll just pop some around here. And maybe one more big one, and then just a couple of the smaller ones here. And that should about do it. Okay, so now we can take the lining off these. And the easiest way that I've found to do that is with one of these tools that you use for weeding vinyl. And I just kind of poke that into the lining, and then I can hopefully wiggle that off like that. And then you also want to take the top off this one too. Okay, so now you're ready to put Santa on. So I'll just position this so that it's sitting at the very top of that piece there, and then pop this one on here. Like that. Okay, so now when you do that, provided you haven't stuck the pop dots too close to the legs, that will swivel. Now mine aren't swiveling, so you can see that I've done exactly what I said not to do, and you can see that this pop dot here is interfering with that. So I can take that one off and just move that so that it's out of the way of those legs. So probably the best thing to do would be to use smaller pop dots when you're down here at the bottom. So I'll pop those legs back on and see if that's going to work, but no, it's not. So let's go with a smaller one. Hopefully this is going to work a bit better. Okay, those legs down and pop that in there. All right, so now his legs move freely. All right, so that's basically the card done, apart from putting the two pieces inside. So for this, I'm just going to use my ATG gun. Try one that's actually got tape in it. I'll pop that in there. And then this one can go on here. So there you go. Now all we need to do is put our little sentiment on here. So I'm going to glue this one to the red. And then I'll raise that one up as well with some more little pop dots. And pop that on there. So there you go. It's actually quite a really quick card to put together. And it's something that you can cut in bulk if you wanted to do a whole set of cards in one session. So there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, all the details and the link to get the Design Space file will be in the comments below. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.